Good morning, everybody. Take a few moments to get centered as we prepare our hearts and minds for affirmative prayer. If you're just tuning in, good morning and welcome to Unity of Birmingham Live. Right where you are, let's ascend the mountain of consciousness, metaphorically speaking, together. In this sacred space, we begin with thanksgiving. We affirm and know that everything that life has given us, we have lost nothing. In this sacred space, we surrender, we let down our guard, we open our hearts and we open our minds and we align ourselves in the spirit of oneness with the power of God, the power of good, the Christ presence within. We allow the presence of God, the presence of good, to go forward and do its perfect work of healing and restoring and setting free, of providing divine guidance. We acknowledge that we are in a safe space. We acknowledge that we are in a holy space. We acknowledge our oneness with all that is. We affirm that God is good and our God is one. We affirm that there is no division in God, no separation between us and our good thing. We dissolve in our own mind and in the minds of others lack, limitation, scarcity, and not enough, and we affirm wholeness and peace and prosperity. We allow the mind of God to go forward in this service and bless. We call forward our energies back on this week, the energy that we have given out, and we affirm that we are enough right here and right now. We speak blessings on our tomorrow, knowing that who we are will be enough and will have enough to show up and to do that which the selves that we will yet to become are called to do. And it's in the name and the nature of the presence of good that we affirm all is well. Together we say, and so it is.
Good morning, Unity of Birmingham.
Good morning.
I'm going to do a little envisioning meditation. So I'm just going to ask you all to find a comfortable posture in your chair. Maybe soften your gaze or close your eyes to the outer world. Relax your body as you breathe. Take a few cleansing breaths. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Do this a few times, relaxing more and more each time. Have your feet planted on the floor, grounding yourself. Now take your faculty of imagination and see yourself sitting out in nature with your feet actually literally on the ground. Let this substance under your feet appear to be gold. Gold dust. Let's imagine this gold dust entering through our feet now to our body temple. Through every area of our feet, the tips of our toes, traveling up now through our legs, through the upper legs, into our abdominal, our lower abdominal area, where vital organs exist to digest life, letting go of the things that we do not need or want. Imagine this moving upward now into your chest, your treasure chest, where your heart and lungs reside. Turning gold. Everything you see is good. You feel love and kindness for yourself and others. Let yourself rest here for a few more moments. And we journey up through our arms. Golden streams filling the right and the left, to the hands and the fingers. Everything you touch turns to gold. Further afield, this golden light moves through our neck, the bridge to our crown. All we see is good. All we speak is good. Envision this golden crown on the top of your head. Know that you are the queen or king of your world. Let this golden substance within you transform to the stardust that you are created from. See it burst upward through your inner eyes like fireworks in the dark sky. Take this journey often to remind you of who you are. In the words of Joni Mitchell, you are stardust, you are golden. As you re-enter the room, gently opening your eyes, believe this is so, and it shall be. So it is.
morning, everybody.
Good morning.
If you will take a, which camera? Okay, this one. There we go. If you will, take a few minutes just for yourself, just to center back, drop back into that space, to create a felt sense of the presence of God. It is this felt sense that does the work. Just relax for a second in that presence. Musicians, bring it down just a little bit. We want to slow it down for a second. Rest in the presence of God. And if that's too complicated, just breathe for a second. Think about the last time life actually worked out for you. Think about the last time things went your way. Think about the last time that it all worked out for your good. Rest in that awareness for a second. Hold on to that feeling. The feeling of knowing that you're okay. The feeling that you are enough. The feeling that it all works out for your benefit. The good, the bad, the up, the down, the things you understand and the things you don't. Think about the last time that God clued you in and you actually saw the big picture. Oh, that's what God was doing. That's what all that was about. I get it now. Grab that feeling and rest in it just for a few more seconds, just to extend the meditation. Because it's this skill of awareness, of paying attention to yourself, of paying attention to your moods, of monitoring as if you are directing traffic, as if you are directing an orchestra in your brain. Getting a hold of the shifting of your own emotions is how you practice self-regulation, so that you are able to say, like the mystic Paul, all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to its purpose. Your purpose today is to know yourself, feel yourself, because by knowing yourself, you actually allow yourself to become face to face with God. Meister Eckhart said, the self of myself is God. The my is the personal. That's the human consciousness. But the self, that's God. This is the space that I invite you into today, to rest in God, beyond the mind. Feel it in your body. And when you have that feeling, come back to the room. Take a big cleansing breath in through the nose, release the divine sound of that relaxation. The goal and the purpose of sacred service is to come together to create a felt sense. So through music and through conversation and through sacred service and through love and through oneness and sharing, we create an experience of what spirituality can look like, because there is no rule book as far as how this is supposed to go. So the minister doesn't check into the office on Sunday morning and say, oh, okay, here we go. This is what's on the agenda for today. We have a message, we have a theme, we have a script. But what actually happens is you create the feeling of what the service will be like. Ministers will tell you that there are always two versions of sacred text. There's an oral tradition and a physical tradition. And in the oral tradition, what that does is it gives the people a chance to add more to everything that they've been given. There is a life that comes out of the spiritual practice. In the words of sacred text, it is the letter that killeth, but it's the spirit that gives life. So everything that's planned, especially on Sunday mornings, it's all about what you bring into the service. And what I would like to do this morning is to point your attention back to you, back to God within. And ask you a question this morning. Good morning if you're just tuning in. Oh, let's send them a special blessing before we get started. Say this with me. Divine love, in us blesses and multiplies all that you are, all that you hear, all that you receive. Know in this moment you are safe and you are loved. And so it is. Our ministry is supported by partners like you. We thank you for your partnership and your contribution. To make your gift again, log on to unitybham.org and click on giving. But to get back, Sunday morning services are as powerful as your intention. Meaning, when you come to church, what is the purpose? What is the gift that you bring God within today? What do you want God to do for you? Because coming to church to simply come, although sacred text tells us to forsake not the gathering of ourselves together. In fact, repeat this affirmation with me. Forsake not the gathering of yourselves together. But here's the thing. When you gather together, you are giving of your individual light, each and every one of you, so that all of us can be illuminated, so that we collectively can contribute to the divine idea known as Unity of Birmingham. Originated in May of 1919 when the founder received membership into Silent Unity. And then that summer in 1923 when the divine 12 powerful women sat around the table and gave birth to Unity of Birmingham as a spiritual center, making the divine idea known as Unity of Birmingham over 100 years old. So you are sitting right now in the midst of power, of generational power. So I ask you and challenge you on this month that as you walk in the door, have an intention in mind, because this is prime energy here. It's like having a conversation with an elder. You know, you get one question, because elders don't like all them questions. Don't be asking me all these questions now. You get one question. So when you decide what that thing is and you bring it into the household of good, the household of faith, you charge yourself. And then the agency comes, because that is the key. Once you set that intention, realization comes and that agency comes, and it empowers you to go out and do something. The New Testament says that after the transition of Jesus, that the disciples were instructed to go to Jerusalem to wait for the power of the Holy Spirit to meet them there and empower them to go out and do a mission. And then the book of Acts says that after the demonstration or the agency or the realization of consciousness sat upon, came within, and came out of the disciples, they turned the city upside down. So once you have been charged and energized on Sunday mornings, Monday is where the real work is. So you are empowered with power from on high. And by on high, I mean in consciousness. Say this with me, Jerusalem. The word Jerusalem means city of peace. Place your hand on your heart. So the power of God within spills over on the outside. So all of the ups and downs, the highs and the lows, putting your hands together, the music, the conversation, they do something to your mind and your body and your physiology. And then on Monday morning, your job is to go out and execute that. So the real ministry is your life living. Put your hands down. Robert Thurman, the meditation teacher, Sanskrit scholar, and father of Uma Thurman from Kill Bill. Sanskrit Tibetan scholar, the first American monk ordained by the Dalai Lama. He said that meditation, or the real meditation, is actually your life living. So yours to do is to receive instruction, to receive power, to get as fully charged as you want. Ask not what the world needs, Howard Thurman. Come alive, because the world needs more people who have come alive. But the real question is, once you have come alive, what are you going to do with all that power? How are you going to change your life? We talk about changing the world. What the world needs are change agents who have first changed themselves. And then by changing ourselves, we're able to be catalysts for true power in the world. So this month's theme is power. Say this with me. Power.
Power.
Power. And so today's topic within that theme is the stuff you're made of. Say this with me. The stuff I'm made of. Whew, just rest in that for a moment. That one right there is tough. And I try to be careful with topics and teachings because I make sure that I can actually measure up to that bar first. So I sit with God in prayer to see if that actually works for me. Nah, God, I don't want to talk about that yet. I'm still working on a few things. Nah, let me talk about that. Give me like 2 months so we have a negotiation. But when you think about individuals, and think about your own self, who you are is demonstrated the most under adversity. And it's very difficult to talk about adversity sometimes in metaphysical houses because we say God, the good, omnipotent. So what are you talking about? What are the adverse experiences of life? The adverse experiences of life are what I call the vicissitudes of life. They are the ups and downs, sort of like somebody playing with the volume. Sometimes the volume of the TV goes up, and other times the volume of the TV goes down. And we're not sure who is adjusting it, but it's dysregulating me. I can't enjoy the movie because the sound ain't working right. That's life. But here's the key. The key is to anchor yourself so deep within God, so deep within your soul, so deep within your heart. Sometimes that anchoring process we think is in people. So we anchor into people by devoting our time and our attention and doing things for them. You ever did things for people and expect that same level of, reciprocity, and then it does not come back and you're disappointed? Say this with me. That's the wrong source. But when you anchor deep within consciousness, within self, within God mind, within the divine mind, whatever title you want to give the infinite within you, something changes. Your experience of the world is reset. You are able to see the world and the people on the path of awakening. One of my favorite teachers, Mark Epstein, said he had a conversation with Ram Dass right before Ram Dass passed. And Ram Dass asked him, Mark Epstein is a psychiatrist, he said, your patients, do you see them, he had a stroke, as already free? While sitting with his patients who were chronically twisted and tied up into their stuff and their story, because we all get tied up into our stories. Y'all know how it is. Oh my God, you got 5 minutes? Let me tell you what happened. Because I got them too. It's been an interesting week. So Mark was challenged by Ram Dass to see his clients as already free. Say this with me. The stuff you're made of can be difficult to do. And what it does, it raises the bar. Because it means that in spite of adverse circumstances, you're challenged by the divine that you are. And you know you're challenged because you can feel when it hits you here. It's like, oh, who's pushing me? I can't see where this is coming from. You ever been hit so hard you don't know where the hit's coming from? It's like it's coming from everywhere. Like, who did this? Who can I blame? But when you can't blame anybody, when you settle down, when you come back to yourself, when you've gotten the story out and you are able to sit quietly and come to your senses, there is one thing that does not change. Life goes up and down, people come and go, but there is a presence that's there that sort of reminds you that the connection between all of this stuff that's going on is you. Say this with me. I am the answer. I am the answer. If you take out she did, if you take out he did, if you take out they didn't do, if you take out they didn't do this, you are the only one that's left. It can be difficult at times to control circumstances, even though we talk about being empowered. But the one thing that you can control is self. So when you tie into God within this very being, this very body, and you master the art of finding something that does not change, you find a way to be happy in spite of the ups, in spite of the downs, in spite of the ins, in spite of the outs, in spite of those that do, and in spite of those that try to but still come up short. It's like, oh, baby, I love you, but that wasn't what I wanted, but thank you anyway. You tried. And you're trying to hurt people's feelings. Because the world does what it can. Say this with me. We're all doing the best that we can. So when you choose to look for the good and you see everyone as the presence or the emanation of God, even if God is buried underneath nonsense, that, my friends, is the hardest thing to do. Where is God in this story? Where is God in this person. I ain't looking for God in them. They are such and such and such and such. It's easy to find the bad, the nasty, the messed up, the things they did wrong. But what did they do right? And finding what they did right doesn't empower them. It empowers you because it reorients your consciousness. It shows you your job and your mission. Say this with me. Focus.
Focus.
It can be difficult in life to focus because of all the stuff, insert your favorite adjective, the ones that you say after church. All the stuff that happens. But when you focus and anchor deep in God within, and your eyes are on, many are called but few are chosen. When your eyes are on your objective, my objective is health, my objective is wealth, my objective is happiness, then something else comes out of me. The New Testament says that there are two men sleeping in the bed, one taken and the other left. Every day you are being asked to take the right one. You take God with you and leave the foolishness at the door. It's the hardest thing to do, to show up as God. Tell the truth, shame the devil. We don't believe the devil's in God. It's hard to show up as God. And some days we feel like we fall short. But say this with me. You do the best you can with what you have, when you have it. So for all the times that you fell short, instead of beating yourself up, you see them all as learning experiences. That is what you had in the tank at the time. Your awareness pointed that out to you, not to condemn you, but to help you to come up. To help you raise the standard. To help you to find your own moral compass. Because newsflash, people, there is no human resources book in spirituality. You have to make it up. You have to decide who you are going to be. And you negotiate that moment by moment. So when the moment asks of you, are you a man or a mice? When the moment asks of you, what are you going to do? When the moment asks of you, hey, they did this, what you going to say? You have to anchor so deep into God until you realize that there's some things that need not a response. You have to anchor so deep in God until when you go to open your mouth, only truth comes out. Now, some of us wield truth like a sword. When we open our mouths and we speak truth, boy, that thing cuts you. It's like, don't ask if you don't want the answer. When you're talking with a real elder, cut through all the red tape. I'll tell you like how they tell me, hurry up. People start doing this when you're talking. They're like, get to the point, man. Because I can kind of go on and on and on and on. How much time you got? See, you turn by the fork in the road, and then there's a lady outside who will tell you to make a left. And then one time, we ain't talking about it. Come on back, Red. But when you focus, say this with me, focus. Then you tie and anchor yourself not only into God within, but the stuff that you're made of, that you know you're made of. You are able to pull on that, and that comes out. Instead of the foolishness. Instead of the stuff that you don't want to come out. You ever said something you regret? It's like, ooh, once it comes out, I can't take it back. So when you anchor deep, I didn't anchor deep in that moment. Let me try it again. You take a deep breath, you start over and you reset. Say this with me. Be angry, but sin not. Here's another one for you. Do not let the sun. Boy, y'all ain't saying these things loud enough. Go down on you. Let's go ahead and take the offering now. Do not let the sun go down upon your wrath. Anger isn't a bad thing, people. Anger is beautiful. In fact, anger is passion. When you look at compassion, compassion is compacted passion. So yours to do is to take the anger that you feel, where your nervous system has been regulated and you're out here jumping and pumping and your hormones are thriving, and before you say something you regret, you utilize it and turn it into something good. So yours to do is to take the stuff of life and not feel that life is against you, but life is for you. And then yours to do is to ask yourself, now what am I going to do with all of this? This is what happened to me. But the real question is, what am I going to do? And then who is the I that's doing the doing? Is it the frustrated self, the self that doesn't know, the self that's twisted, the self that's confused? Or is it the divine self? Real quick, let me show you what you're made of. Say this with me, angels.
Angels.
You are made of God stuff. Did you know that? God stuff. Angels are divine thoughts. They are words of truth or messengers of God. Spiritual ideas arising from the Christ within. Well, how do you know? The word angel in Greek, or angelos, means messenger, very similar to apostles. What are the messages that you receive every day? They're the thoughts and intentions of your heart that arise from within. Well, if you are one with God or one with Spirit, and these angels serve God, then these thoughts and intentions and feelings serve you. So the angels are your servants. You're not theirs. The thoughts that arise in your mind, you have control over them. Say this with me, affirmations. Your affirmative and declarative power reorients your psyche. It changes your thought process. When your mind moves to the negative, your affirmations bring it back so that the stuff that you are made of, that you choose to execute and show and demonstrate in the world through your sacred service, so that that comes out and not the worst. You ever just had the worst in you come out? It's like, oh my God, I hope nobody sees that. Shh, you won't tell nobody. But when you anchor deep in God, utilize your affirmative power, bring your mind back when your mind goes left, true potential comes out. Say this with me, spirit.
Spirit.
Spirit is God as your individuality. It's the moving force or intelligence within you. This is who you really are at your core. Here's an affirmation for you. My word is spirit and life. So the words that you speak to other people, how you talk about yourself, how you present anything. Because here's some information. Anything can be sold if you spin it right. So what you say matters. Your internal self-talk matters. In fact, it matters so much until it manifests itself. It materializes. So when you are one with God and you understand who you are, then that power and that realization of that truth of who you are, your very nature, your very being, there's a responsibility piece that comes along with it. So while others are joking around and the world is talking about gloom and doom, you see the world is rising in consciousness. You see the people around you is doing the best you can. And you can easily say, like the prophets, that no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against me in judgment God shall condemn. And you can also say that all things work together for my good. So your anger gets rerouted. You don't need to fight. You don't need to armor up. But what you need to do is speak truth. Say this with me. Speak truth.
Speak truth.
Almost done. Say this with me. Soul. Soul is your human consciousness. It's the many accumulated ideas behind your present existence. Personality is the sum total of characteristics that make up your natural self, independent of divine principle. So the spiritual work that we do, all of the human characteristics, the experiences that we encounter, the parenting, sometimes not so good parenting, the circumstances of the world, the things that people have put us through, the things that we have felt in our nervous system. Say this with me, soul. All of that stuff gets tied up and it manifests as soul. But when you know your true nature is spirit, the spiritual work that you do purifies the soul. It ties you back into your truest self. It reminds you, like the prophet Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. My truest self is one with God. The Apostle Paul said, we are hidden with God in Christ. So when the world asks me to act a fool, I remember that I am a royal priesthood. I remember that I am better than this. So that the pressures of life don't push the nonsense out. It pushes out God. stuff. If I'm in the house, say yes.
Yes.
Last but not least, say I am.
I am.
Whatever you had, I am to you become, which is the power of affirmations. So I am is God's name within you. It's the indwelling Christ. The outer manifest self is the offspring of I am. So when you are focused and anchored deep within your God self, the I am that you speak to yourself, your personal conviction, your personal feelings about yourself matters. So through the affirmative practice and tying yourself back and coming to church and clapping your hands and stomping your feet, you get reoriented. Something in you shakes. You ever come to church and it was such a powerful service? This service might not have been that one. But some services you come to church and it's like, oh my God, Rev spoke directly to me. I just felt it all in my guts. The God within me confirms and acknowledges the God within you. And then you walk out on Monday morning, you've just been reoriented in that service. And your job to do is to replicate that feeling, because that feeling is how your mind is able to come to terms with what God feels like intellectually. Yours to do is to put yourself in a bodily state where you can feel the presence of God in your body. And then you are able to remember who you really are, that I am this. I am not this feeling that comes on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock called depression. That I am not this feeling when people push me and make me do things and I call it anxiety. This might be what manifests through my soul as a result of my nervous system and the stuff that moves through my consciousness from time to time because of my conditions and because of my parenting. But I am one with God. And then you identify with that, which is why we're able to say, I am is not sick. God does not get sick. This body goes through changes, but God within does not get sick. And your identification with that allows you to maneuver through it as best you can. So when the body is reaped and racked in pain, although you feel the pain, although it does make you squeeze and twist and turn, you realize that there is something to me that is hid with God. There is something to my truest self that is one with God. And though this body goes through changes, I know my real self. Say this with me. I am not this body.
I am this body.
Your truest self is spirit. You are not this body. You have a body. It's a difference. You are not these thoughts. You have thoughts. If you watch your thoughts long enough, they're like cars on the highway. They come and they go. Pain happens when we grab hold to these thought patterns, this energy, and we can't let go. In the East, they call it shinpa. It's like a hook. We grab this line of thought. And you know how I know? Because you tell the same story over and over again. This happened and that happened. It's like you haven't let that thing go yet. You're still talking about it. It's been 20 years. You're still talking about that thing that happened to you. Everybody else is an adult now. You're still talking about that thing over and over and over and over again. So when you identify with God, you see now through the eyes of infinity. So the stuff that you went through is minutia in the eyes of infinity. Doesn't mean it's not important. So what it happened? It's a fact of life. But you see it all in its proper place. So you're like the mystic Paul. Nothing, neither height nor depth, nor principality or power or things present or things to come will separate me from the love of God. That, my friends, is the stuff you're made of. It's a high bar, and every day we do our best to live up to it. But I got to tell you, you're doing it right now. You know how I know? Because you're here. The deep calleth unto the deep. Last one. Repeat this affirmation with me. The Spirit will, direct angels to protect you wherever you go. In consciousness, they will hold you up so you won't stretch yourself too thin. This is a reinterpretation of Psalms 91, 11 through 12. And it actually says in the King James Version, for they shall bear thee up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. for he will give his angels charge over you. This is what the I am does. So the kingdom of God, the awareness of possibility and of life and of love and of laughter and every good thing is a realm within your soul, within your consciousness. Yours to do is to anchor deep within that realm every day. Identify with God within. Become one with God within. Through your sacred service, through coming together, through going to church, through hanging around good people, through feeding yourself, through affirmative thinking. I am wealthy. I am wise. All things work together for my good. Over and over again until you convince yourself. Because true power manifests when you believe it. Y'all still there? I want to make sure I don't lose nobody. And so, my friends, as I bring this to a close, the stuff that you're made of doesn't always come out. It's not always visible, because sometimes the bad stuff comes out. And that's okay, because all things work together for your good. The power of awareness is a gift. And when you become aware of the life you're living and it doesn't measure up to your inner convictions, your knowingness that you are one with God, then you are empowered to change it. And this month, my friends, I've been assigned to help you with that. Y'all can let me help you? Yeah. Say this with me, and so it is. Thank you for listening. Peace and blessings. Whew. Tough message. Do this with me. Shake it off. It's all right. But our ministry is supported by members like you. We thank you for your service, all of the volunteers, those that give up their hearts and their time and their consciousness to support this ministry. We are grateful for you. Please remember to make your gift online by logging on to unitybham.org and clicking on giving. Our ushers are making their way forward for those that do give in person, while LaDonna gives us a special selection. Take it away, LaDonna.
All right. On that note of this message today, I'd like to invite you all to stand up and stretch and move with me and with Julie, and we're going to sing a song, and the words are one mind, one power, one light, one love, and that's it. So you can sing along, or you can shift your weight from one foot to the other, and we're just going to go with it, okay? Here we go.
One love.
young man right now. He's like, here we go with that nonsense. Stay this way. Let's be professional. We bless this offering, knowing it will be used for the building of this ministry. We bless the givers. We know it will return back to them. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Amen. Amen. And so it is. Put your hands together for yourselves, if you will. Thank you. And now for our closing song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. Protection. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is.
Wherever I am, God is, and
All is well. Thank you very much. Bingo downstairs.
All right.